I'm making this video to honor the energy of Enki, the being called Enki, and the entity called Enki. And of course, as well, alongside Damkina, which is his wife. Damkina meaning we are your blood, if you translate it in Eritrean. So this message is, of course, for Eritrean, as always, but it's way broader than that. It's towards whoever can resonate with it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people. So EA Enki. EA is he who swam is water. Interesting, because I was about to make this video and I believe I saw something new on my phone, and I saw AE lock. I don't know what it is. I don't know this terminology, you know, and perhaps I'm not that technical, and you know, it just caught my eye because AE backwards is EA, he whose home is water, and that's the entity of Enki. You know, traditionally the Dogon has a story that a fish-like being called Oannes came out of the waters, you know, and he gave civilization to the world, right? So his people, those type of beings, right? So Oannes, if you look into the word, you know, we have a similar word in Eritrean, which is Johannes. Perhaps it derives from that, you know. We know how languages are linked, how words are linked, and how then the different cultures, they just morph it and adapt it, you know, according to their own language, you know, and things change sometimes slightly, right? So Johannes in our language basically means John, is the equivalent of John in English. John, like for example, John the Baptist. So John the Baptist, who was the one that we know that baptized Yeshua in the Jordan River, all right? So it has to do with water. And of course my Sirius A freestyle, if you listen to it, has to do with water, you know. Yeah, it was a specific particular freestyle, but yeah, it has to do with water and that type of energy. But why I'm connecting it to Enki? Again, because the entity called Oannes that the Dogon spoke about is perhaps Enki. That's the word on the spiritual street, at least. So if that's the entity and it's called Oannes, and we got the word Johannes as well in our language, you know, there's a link. And specifically concerning my own freestyle and the entity of Enki, if you look at the end when I show you the product that I bought, and it's called Equilibra, right? Which I told you means to balance, you know, to bring something into balance, generically speaking, is to give it harmony, isn't it? When you balance something, everything has to be in balance, so to speak, right? Not imbalanced, but in balance, right? So the products that I bought are called Equilibra, and if you didn't realize, if you saw it, you got like you know, do you remember, do you have in mind Amazon? Yeah, so you have the smile that goes from the A to the Z, which means we deliver from A to Z. It's basically, you know, a marketing strategy, you know. It's subliminal, but not that subliminal. And Equilibra has the same. It has this smile that starts from E and then goes all the way to the final A, right? I'm like, wow, E and A. So again, that's the energy of Enki. EA, he whose home is water. And I spoke about water in my Sirius A freestyle, right? And of course, the fish-like beings, you know, Sirius, you connected to water, you know, inevitably. And I said, that's interesting. This might be the energy of Enki that, yeah, again, is speaking through me, is contacting me, you know. So I'm speaking, I would say, through, well, how can we say, genetic memory, through Enki's mouth, you know, being a descendant, whatever, you know. Ningizida being his son, which is the Houthi thought, very close to me, very, very close to me. You know, whichever way you want to see it, however it pleases you, that's the energy of Enki, right? Cool. And how did that happen? When I was in Torino, I told you already, when I was in Torino, I went into this shop called Sirius, yeah. And you know, the orbit around it, if you saw it, you saw it. There was an orbit around it. It had Sirius in the middle. Therefore, Sirius B, which gravitates, you know, its orbit is around Sirius A, and it takes like 50 years, right? 50, to make a complete orbit. And that was very interesting to me. And there's other details that I saw under the products, you know, under the bag. So what I saw was, apart from the lady that I told you already, the Caucasian lady, that she got her arm stretched down and her hand gesture is like, you know, the hands that come out from the hieroglyphs that come out from the sun, you know, therefore, you know, there's an esoteric meaning attached to it. What I saw also down there is all the products were had a B in it. B. There was a B, then this, and then underneath lift. And I'm like, B, then this sign, and then lift. And I'm like, okay, so something has to lift B. So Sirius B has to be lifted. So in my own freestyle, I was Sirius B, right? Therefore, and I said I gravitate around, I gravitate around you like Sirius B, and A represent the woman, right? So the woman has to lift the man, but listen to this, all right? But at the same time, B can also be represented by the woman. By the way, B is the second letter of the alphabet, so it's 2, right? Unity, balance, by the way, yeah. And I'm talking about balance. Equilibria is called the name of the product, so that's balance. But also, if you look at the B and its lines, you know, you got this and then this. Looks like it resembles the number 13. Number 13 is, I would call it also completion number 13, because, you know, as we know it, in this construct that we are in, you got the number 12, right, that represent the zodiac signs. Or for example, you got the number 12 that represents, you know, the disciples, right, that Yeshua had. So if you get a sphere, you got the 12 zodiac sign or the 12 disciples, and at the center you got what is called Christ consciousness. Therefore, the Christ consciousness will be the 13th place or seat, which is also the throne, or a set throne if you want, right? A set in ancient Kemet is represented as the throne. Therefore, she's at the center. So, and of course, if it's the center, things gravitate around her. So yeah, that's the throne, or also the woman's seat, as in ancient Kemet, a set, or whichever way you want to put it. It could be you, like, because you have to put yourself at the center of everything. You are at the center of everything, and things, you know, gravitate around you. That's what I'm trying to convey. That's the message that I'm trying to convey, right? So it's vice versa. You know, you can adapt it to whatever gender, you know, and you can make it fit your narrative. Therefore, B for me represent completion, because B, again, if you see the lines, is 13. 13 is 1 plus 3, which is 4. 4 again is, you know, it's foundation. It's the elements, you know, the elements as earth, wind, fire, and water. The cardinal signs, you know, the cross, you know, and then you got the cross, and at the center you got, you know, again the circle, a circle which represents you and things gravitating around, you know. There's a lot of things that we can consider with 4, and also number 9 is completion, right? So you got 4, you got 9. So yeah, 13 is 1 plus 3. And yeah, so who has to be lifted? It's B, which is Sirius B, which is the man, or vice versa. B is the number 13, and the number 13 is associated with the women. So it's the man that has to lift the woman, you know? It goes both ways. It's not just, oh no, man has to do it because it sounds as a man prerogative, you know, as in having the strength, you know. You don't have to see it physically, you know, materialistically, like in this third density reality where you say, oh yeah, the man is stronger, so he's supposed to lift her, as in, you know, with his own strength. No, we're talking spiritually, right? We're talking spirit. It's something that goes beyond that. And yeah, and if we talk in spirit, you know, yeah, I mean we're both strong, like male and females, but when it comes to openness towards the spirit world, you know, I believe women, you know, I'm kind of struggling to say it. I think women have, you know, an advantage. That's a reality. They're generically speaking more psychic, you know, although you can have exception. And listen, I'm not actually struggling, but I'm trying to find the right words. You know, I'm trying to find the right words because in my own case, in my own scenario, like, trust me, I don't complain about my spirit and the strength of my spirit and me being tapped into the universe, you know. You know, I'm not at the level of completion, but, you know, I'm not doing that bad after all. So yeah, I'm somehow content of my connection. Listen, if you know, you know. So I was kind of even joking, you know, when I said I'm struggling to say, you know, I have no problem to acknowledge. I mean, it would be silly as well. Like, yeah, I don't get it, you know. You know, I'm a person of truth, you know. I'm a person of truth. So whatever that truth lead me, you know, I follow. You know, I don't mind saying it. I wouldn't mind saying that other ethnic groups or Caucasians, you know, to go to the polar opposite are the best people on earth. I wouldn't mind saying it if that was the truth, right? I wouldn't mind doing it. But yeah, so that's the energy of Enki. I don't want to go that far and digress and just go in corner that doesn't make sense going now. So that's the energy of Enki. And one interesting story is that, you know, before going to Torino, and that's where I went to the shop, you know, the last day, and, you know, in the cereal shop, crazy, I've been told, you're not gonna take with you the book of Enki? This is what I've been told. I'm like, come on, which is the last book of Enki. I'm like, I read it already, like every page in that book. You know, I read books like that. I don't just open it randomly and just, I do that. I do that because my spirit always leads me to the right page. It's unbelievable. Who knows. I always go to a page that has a message for me, and I'm just reinforcing that, you know, by spelling it out now. You know, I'm just making that stronger connection with my spirit because I'm casting a spell. Casting a spell doesn't mean, you know, something negative. Casting a spell means, you know, creating with your words in this third density, you know, strengthening your relationship with spirit, you know, and spirit reply back if you acknowledge it, you know. That's how it is. If I say to you, Grand Rising, I'm smiling to you, you know, you smile back. I'm smiling to the universe. The universe might smile back. I wasn't even thinking about the smiling aspect of the E and the A, right? EA, Enki, he whose home is water. But yeah, I was saying, yeah, somebody told me, don't you take the book of Enki? I'm like, why? What for? Like, already. Listen. We go and take the taxi to go to the station. And first thing, listen, I don't even enter to the car. I just watch the license plates. For some reason, I go to watch the license plate. I wanted to see that. And I see that the registration number, not the actual license plate, but the registration number that he had of his public service, if those are the words, was 555. And I see the repetition of, you know, the angelic number 555 and what it means, whatever. And I'm like, oh, interesting, you know? I've been drawn just like that. So see, that's your spirit. Sometimes you don't even think consciously about something, but it seems that every step that you take, somebody invisible is guiding you, whether it's from the front or from the back. You know, sometimes it's just like we are puppets, isn't it? And somebody's pulling the strings and we're doing stuff. But yeah, I see the number, it's 555. I'm like, wow. And I'm going there with this ankh, you know. I take it with me for certain reason. And, you know, the driver that comes, he sees it. He said, oh, that's... He tells me like, oh, that's the Tesla. I think he said that. But he made a comment, a remark about this ankh, yeah. And for some reason, I didn't want to engage in a conversation. Perhaps I had a bit of prejudice. He was Italian, and which doesn't mean anything, yeah? Because if you know, you know. If you're, you know, interested about this stuff, you know, there's a reason for it. But I don't know. I think I didn't want to really engage in a conversation. And he said something about Tesla, and he showed me like straight away, like not even a couple of seconds. I don't know how he took it from his phone. Straight away he showed me this, but it was the Tesla coil device, right? And it was there was the comparison of the ankh, you know, beside it. And I'm like, oh yeah, Tesla and blah blah blah. And I don't know if I mentioned my surname is Tedla, which sounds similar to Tesla. I didn't say anything, you know. Usually it pops in my mind when I hear Tesla. But I didn't say much, you know. Then at the traffic light, I kind of felt guilty. We were at the traffic light. I said, you know what? Like, why I'm not saying nothing? And I said to him, listen, if you are interested about these topics, you know, you should read this. And I had the book of Enki with me, the lost book of Enki. And I think he kind of saw it at the beginning when I entered, but he actually didn't see it afterwards, he told me. You know, he just saw the back of the page, you know, but the back of the page doesn't say much, you know, you cannot recognize it. And I said, yo, listen to, buy this book, it's very interesting. He doesn't say nothing. He just go down to reach something, you know, underneath, you know, the passenger seat. And he takes out that book, the same book, right? Same edition, by the way. And we were like, wow, that's crazy. And it's not that usual that, especially in Milan, come on, man. Or in Italy in general. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's people that are interested in this and UFO stuff and blah, blah, blah. But it's very unusual to see somebody like that. This guy was a guy from Sardinia. Well, Sardinian are a bit different though. Sardinia are a bit more, I don't know if they're more tapped in, but they're slightly different genetically and historically wise. But that was something. And not only that, and then I told him, I think I told him, I'm sure there's some connection even in the page where you reach reading, and the ones that we have the bookmark in, yeah. So he opened his page, I opened my page to see if they match. He was on page 130 or maybe I was on page 139 and he was on page 193. 9 and 3, 3 and 9, they are the same, 193, 139. If you reassemble the numbers. And again, it's the key to the universe, right? What is that? It's Tesla phrase. If you know the mystery of the 3, 6, and 9, you have a key to the universe. And remember, the conversation started with him showing me, the Tesla coil, the Tesla device. And that was the Ankh. And that's something. Nothing short of magic. I'm not that surprised, but for truth's sake, I must share these stories because, if you hear about somebody's alignment and you're aligned enough to hear about that person's alignment, you can surely replicate that type of magic, in your own reality, As I say, we might be on the same frequency, and let's say this is the frequency. You see my finger, but within my finger, if you get closer and closer and closer, there's different layers. So you might be on the layer on top, I might be on the layer on the bottom, or vice versa, but we're still in that frequency, and I can pull you or you can pull me higher. That's what I believe is a frequency. It's not something that is like, oh, that's the one, frequency of the radio 139.1. Yeah, and you're listening to the music. No, it's not like that. We cannot be all at the same frequency. I'm not at everybody's frequency, You cannot listen to everybody that is on your frequency. So you can hear it from what they say. They're not on your frequency. You're just able to reach them because you're somehow there. You know what I mean? But yeah, beside that, that was what happened in that car, and just it was an amazing start. An amazing start to a journey to a city close to me, which is Torino, rebaptized Tot Reno. But yeah, other than that, the museum the city is very esoteric. It's known to be esoteric. There's a lot of libraries with ancient knowledge. It's not even something that is hidden. If you go to the city center, you go to the first library, you start to see things like, the Star of David or the Merkaba and things like that, book regarding that and things of that nature. And that the people, must be on that wavelength somehow, then about the access to this consciousness and the universe, the Most High knows, if you can't reach certain heights, you don't reach certain heights, It takes a certain spirit, a certain soul, or a certain bloodline, all right? But yeah, that's how it is. That's EA, that's the energy. That's the energy of Enki, man, one of our ancestors. So tap in into that. I know there's a lot of stories about the Anunnaki, benevolent, not benevolent, but I'm not being contacted by the energy of Enki. First of all, if I wasn't deemed worthy, and I'm thankful for that. And second of all, if it's not somehow, clean, good intentions behind it. And I can tell, I can feel it. I am not being deceived. I'm not being deceived. Although I think of all the in and outs of the situations. I ask myself why, how, but So Enki's good. Enki's good. And this is a world, this is a reality, You have an example with all your presidents and all your people of power. You cannot please everybody. I guess Enki either. He cannot please everybody. So you got a lot of stories out, Starting from the fact that we know that, he wanted to save humanity. He didn't want to kill humanity in the deluge, in the, right? You know the story about Ziusudra, Noah, known as Noah, in the Bible, you know, and the Great Flood, and anything pertaining to that situation. So Enki was the person that wanted to save humanity, you know. He saw something in us. He truly saw us as his children, descendant. And of course, many might say, yeah, but humanity was created as labor, forced labor, as slaves, you know. That's how we've been genetically spliced with the Anunnaki, you know. But I have to trust what I receive. I have to trust what I receive. What I receive is Enki, for sure. What I receive is the energy of Damkina. We are your blood, you know. They're literally looking for somebody that can leave a message and remind the people. This is about truth. So I'm the only one that is telling you Damkina, we are your blood. I'm the only one that is telling you Enki, which means there you go, keep it. And I'm telling you, perhaps, maybe I'm wrong, perhaps he created the Ankh to honor women. Enki loves women. It has to do with my Sirius A freestyle. I'm not saying I channel it from him. No, I believe that's mine. That's my spirit. I don't want to give credit to any other entity, really. But he has to do with it. And he's in my blood. She's in my blood, Damkina. We are your blood, Damkina. So, as I'm saying, nobody fits better this position than me or any other Eritrean that has the possibility to channel those beings. Listen, we still have a language. Like, this is powerful. You know, sometimes when I think about it, I say, this is powerful. We still have a language that have the blueprint to the stars. We still have a language that has the blueprint to the stars. We still have a language that is godly. This is probably the closest language to Medu Nacher, which is the hieroglyphs. This is the closest language. This is one of the closest languages to God itself, you know, or the Most High, whatever. So, higher forces. Our language is powerful. Our language is powerful. I'm telling you. Like, I'm not gonna do the breakdown of certain words that I have now, but it's powerful. I'll leave it at that. So shout out to Enki. Shout out to the Most High, because I've been able to connect to the Most High as well, right? Even further by way of reading the Holy Tablets by Malachi Tzadok York. So shout out definitely to Dr. York, you know, his spirit, you know, and hopefully all that abundance of knowledge, wisdom, you know, and as he says, right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding leads to sound right reasoning. And I know that to be true for a fact, because the moment that I started to read the Holy Tablets, something happened. You know, I always see angelic numbers, but it was a new beginning. I'm telling you. I started to see 0, 0s, 999. So, okay, endings, beginnings, you know. Also, you know, a spaceship popped up when I was leaving a message about white lions following in those days. Those were the days where I started to read the Holy Tablets. So, yeah, that's in my video, White Lion and Embassy of Eritrea. So yeah, shout out to those beings about truth, you know, and ultimately love, because truth is love. And as I always say, the biggest form of love that I can give you is truth. I cannot go beyond that. All this lovey-dovey stuff, you know, just, yeah, okay, has its own time, its own due time, good. But the only love that I will never refrain from giving. I mean it, it's truth. Yeah. So stay truthful.